Good evening, everyone. I hope you still can or already can hear me. I don't see anything on my screen yet. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, good evening and welcome to another live stream on a, let's say, very interesting day. Let's see who's there. Quite a bit. Conservative, nice to see you again. Christian Kruse, next time please ask the question a bit earlier because some of your questions will be in for next week. I can't do this now. The same for Gentil. Adam Abele, Compuad, FSM is the dog. I've seen Dano already. Katrina Bryce, Wolfgang Kohn. And Valerio, thank you for a super chat already before I started. So that's really nice of you. And yeah, I do like Max and Phil as well. So you're welcome. So let's then just get started. Okay. Thank you, Conservator. No, I'm not wearing a live vest. It was just the basement, and I will have a lot of work in the next days with that one. I really love having neighbors. So, but still, I got, so for the others who might have seen the post I sent earlier today that the live stream is still coming up, it was not a joke. It really happened today. I might explain it later again. And Fallout Clash of Clans, hi there. It's not that a good evening, but we'll make the best out of it. I really do like these live streams, and I like to talk to you guys. So let's just jump right in. Bridget McNamara asked me on Patreon, will it be possible to purchase small electrical equipment from the UK in future? I know there will be additional taxes. Do you know if the UK standards will be able to differ from the EU in the future? Of course they can differ in the future. And I know that you said that the plugs in Ireland and the UK are the same. That's why people often ordered stuff from the UK. With everything that was already built last year, you don't have any problem because of the certificates and stuff like this. But the certification process is now different because there is now a UK certificate that is not a EU certificate anymore. And so they haven't managed to get everything sorted there so far. I mean, we're 6 weeks in the first Brexit year, so there's still a lot of work to do. And if they differ from the EU standards in the future for some reasons, they might not even get certificates, but I don't really see that. All propaganda aside and all populism aside, why should they want to reduce safety of electrical stuff? That would really be stupid. And I don't think they will. And so I'm quite sure they will sort out the certificates. Of course, there will be taxes, there will be customs duties when you bring them in. There just won't be tariffs, but there's a lot of other costs involved in importing stuff. So you will be able to do that, I'm quite sure, but it will cost more than it does now. Then Son of Viking, trying to be shorter today, I see, but I had to shorten them a little bit more. In the Northern Ireland Protocol, it was agreed that Britain from January 1st would collect data in real time related to good traffic through the Irish Sea border, which could then be used to calculate and regulate for standard export summary declarations. Is this, in your view, an indication that the UK intends to crash the protocol completely and as soon as possible? There are other hints. But not this one. This is, from my point of view, just based on the lack of preparedness. the EU, for example, prepared for full WTO Brexit. And we have discussed this in many videos, and you've seen that in a lot of discussions, that on the UK side, a lot of things were not prepared. That's one of the reasons, for example, why there is still a transition period before the UK starts checks and controls at the border for imports. And that is not an indication that they want to crash it. They were just not prepared enough. No, Wolfgang, I have the stream myself on the screen here. Could it be that your internet connection is a little bit slow, because my video is fine that I can see here? I had some buffering last week when we had the snow chaos. Yeah, I have the fun at the moment that I have some chaos around here in the city every weekend now. So there's always a new story every Sunday that has nothing to do with Brexit. But let's get to the second question of Son of Viking, and that has to do with the first one. And given that the EU is obviously fully aware of this, what is your opinion regarding why this has not become the main point of contention to excite media and political attention? The political attention is there within the EU and within the member states. They all have a very close look, and especially the MEPs who are still scrutinizing the TCA, the new agreement, are absolutely aware of what is going on there. Exciting the media in most member states would not really make any sense, because to be honest, the media doesn't bring that much about Brexit now as a headline, or about the UK as a headline, because except people like me who are interested in this stuff, not really many people care about this anymore. It was already last year that almost nobody on the continent from the general public cared about the whole Brexit shenanigans. And so that's why the EU is not even trying to do this. And they are professionals, and they try to sort things out, and not sort things out via the media, like some other people like to do. Then I've got a question from Stephen Monks. Do you think the EU will agree to a longer extension of the GB2NI import checking exemptions that the UK government is looking for? Not the one Gove is asking for. They would definitely not extend that one to 2023. I really don't believe they would do that. That would be a complete nightmare. Another 2 years. They had 5 years to prepare for all of this. First, they were offered a better solution, which was the backstop, which they didn't want because they want to deregulate from and differ from EU regulations. And then they still had enough time to prepare. And now they say we have a lot of trouble here because we signed something we didn't understand, and we now still not prepared and can't do this. So the EU might agree to a short extension, but not the one Gove is asking for. I would ask my MEP if they are totally crazy if they did that. An extension until for another 2 years, just because the UK government is not preparing themselves for contracts they sign. What's going to happen with the famous now 69 trade deals they have with other countries? By the way, there was another one. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday they signed? They made another big victory out of this in the comments under one of my videos. It was still only a copy and paste one, and you still have to work on that one. So let's have a quick look on the chat. It's going quite nicely. 77 watching on my screen. That's always a weird one. When I opened the video myself, and the numbers are not always refresh themselves. I have to refresh the whole page. This is a really weird YouTube here, I fear. Oh, Junie, hi. Haven't seen you quite some time since I was at Maxis, so nice to see you again too. And yeah, guys, hit the like button if you like this. I see there's a difference between people watching and liking. So there's another one from Son of Viking. I'm asking the questions now in the order they came in. Just to say this, before every live stream, on Monday or Tuesday before that already, there will be a post on my community tab. And under that post for the coming live stream, you can leave your questions. And many people did that again. Also, you can leave your questions on Patreon or on my Discord. My Patreons and the members of YouTube get access to my Discord server, so there they can ask questions again, and I collect them in order they come in, and that's why Son of Viking is up already again. Does a protracted deliberation time for EU member states before a final decision about ratifying the Brexit deal mean a greater likelihood of extensions also in current grace periods regarding equivalence, GDPR adequacy, etc., or the opposite? I think that it doesn't really matter because the TCA is provisionally active now. So whatever is in there is active until either the EU Parliament decides not to ratify it, or if something happens that regards a question that Dano asked, that will come later, so I won't mention that right now. But if that doesn't happen, no, the other grace periods with equivalence is anyway a topic. Even if they grant equivalence, they can take it away again within 30 days. That's the time, the notice period you have for the other side for equivalence. So that is quite easy. And GDPR is something they will definitely not play with or toy around with, because especially the German government will be very sensitive on that topic. But when we're talking there, I'll make an exception and take Dano's question now, because it really has to do with that one. According to Article FinProf 11, the provisional application of the TCA runs until February 28th or another date as decided by the Partnership Council. Technically, does that mean a WTO Brexit on February 28th if the UK does not agree to an extension for ratification by the EU Parliament? Technically, yes. That's exactly what FinProf 11 means. There's something more about this in FinProf 9, that's Article 9, because that always gives some other stuff for this FinProf 11. It really means if they don't agree in the council, and Dano quoted correctly from the agreement and from this annex, that the provisional application will end on December 28th, which is the default now, or any other date the Partnership Council agrees on. And if the Partnership Council does not agree on another date, the default will hit, and that means the provisional application of the TCA will end on February 28th. But to be honest, I can't imagine any scenario, whatever saber rattling there is at the moment on media and in speeches and stuff like this, that the UK will deny that. And if some on that side might believe they can blackmail the EU Parliament to ratify without proper scrutiny faster, just because there is this deadline, I wouldn't bet on that one, because regarding Brexit, there are a lot of really angry MEPs about the whole thing, and they will scrutinize this properly. And I even can imagine that they will have amendments, parts that have to be taken out, because the Commission might have gone too far with what they gave the UK. In the UK, a lot of people are complaining there's so much red tape and blah, 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 and so much punishment from the EU because we left. No, that's not punishment, that's WTO, because that's all parts that are not like in the membership again with this TCA. A free trade agreement doesn't give you the benefits of membership, and that's what they are living through now. And there are more parts than in some other free trade agreements, and the Parliament might not like them. So we'll see. But I think the Partnership Council will agree on an extension, and I'm sure the European Parliament will take the proper time to scrutinize this, because they have the perfect example on their side. The House of Commons scrutinized this within hours, and now they're saying what we agreed to there we can't do. Do you have any better argument why you as a parliament want to scrutinize that properly? Oh, I see Nightbot is harsh today again. Christian. No, it's just don't. If you use more emojis in one, Nightbot doesn't like them. So then I have a question from Kauben Chelam from the other side of the planet again. Will the border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain provoke terrorist campaign by Unionist terrorists? Possibly the EU would be in the firing line. We are not at a point where we are talking about a border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, first of all, because that's coming up later. Again, I just want to say this now. And the border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain is, first of all, an imaginary border. There is no hard border there anyway. It's just a imaginary one that you have get in your head when you think about this, because of the different regulations in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which could have been prevented with Theresa May's backstop, which was going too far for the EU, by the way, as well. And now we've got what the EU wanted in the first place and what Johnson brought up later, that he preferred to the backstop. So, but this means to keep up the Good Friday Agreement, there has to be the difference in regulations between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, so that you can keep an open border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. I wouldn't say terrorist, but there was anger by unionists that was directed at EU customs officials a week ago. So there are tensions, and they are, from the unionist side, directed at the EU. But with the border in the Irish Sea, I wouldn't say that it will escalate as much. There are always deluded people everywhere. Wherever you look, you have deluded people. We have quite a lot here with their tinfoil hats still going on about Corona and about lizard people and about celebrities eating children and whatnot. There are stupid people everywhere, and you will never have them go. But I don't see, because of this kind of arrangement we have now, which keeps up the Good Friday Agreement, that there will be any terrorist attacks like we had them a few decades ago. And I say, I was visiting England while I was a cadet, and was not allowed to wear my uniform outside, because that was still this time before the Good Friday Agreement. It was not a nice feeling, and I sincerely hope that this time will not return. So, a second. In a live stream, I can't cut that out. That's the only bad part about this. And someone was wondering about the 2 cups. One is always coffee. So that's coffee. And that's water, because when you talk for an hour, your voice goes somewhere where you don't like it. Let's quick look. Okay. What, a tunnel between Scotland and Northern Ireland? I just would say, Carl, you're not having coffee there at the moment, are you? Okay. The next question is from Chris Ludzinski. Do you think that the EU could issue a common set of rules by law or by recommendation for voting in member states relating to EU matters? The first election to the Euro Parliament in the UK was under the first past the post system, and the last one was under proportionate representation. The only time the EU does this is for the European Parliament. Every other vote, every other election in the member states is the thing of the member states, no matter what the topic is about. That's why we, for example, with the Lisbon Treaty or the other treaties, in some countries the parliaments voted on them. In other countries they had referendums. In Germany you will never see a referendum like this because of our history, and we learned from history, and that's a big reason why we don't do this. And so it's in the authority of the member states to decide how they vote on EU matters. Even if the point is, you also brought up the example of the Brexit referendum. The referendum itself was not a vote, even if Brexiteers now always talk about democracy. The decisive vote was not this referendum. The referendum had the legal consequences of an opinion poll. The point is, Parliament decided to do what was the outcome of that referendum. The referendum itself was non-binding, it had no legal consequences, but Parliament did. And parliaments vote all over the EU all the time on EU matters, because many things decided in the EU need the approval of the national parliaments, and in many cases the regional parliaments. The same as here. We don't have it in every regional parliament in Germany, in the federal state of Germany. We have a second chamber that contains of the governments of the federal states, and they also have to vote on many things regarding the EU. And that's a good thing, and so there's not a big difference between the UK and the now other 27 members that are still members. So that's why the referendum was not the issue. Then I have a question from Mark C. How will the EU react if the UK bans certain products? Cheese was threatened. I would hope they would call their bluff and say, okay, well, maybe you should get all your food elsewhere. First of all, this cheese threat, and I am talking about British cheese tomorrow in one of my videos. It doesn't even have anything to do with a ban. It's a thing like with the cheese, I think it was from Cheshire tomorrow. The health certificates and all the other red tape the UK has now, because they left the EU and they decided to be a third country, makes it sometimes that expensive that it's not worth it to export that anymore. And we will see the same in the EU with some products when the UK starts their checks and controls on their side. At the moment, everything is quite running through. Except some small stuff. But we will see that there too. There will be companies in one of the other 27 EU member states that will not deliver to the UK anymore because it's not worth it. It is too expensive, the necessary bureaucracy and the papers and the certificates and the veterinary checks and everything that has to do with it. And that is the case now for some UK companies that immediately talk about banning or stuff, or some people who are using that for their headlines are talking about banning, but it's just not worth it anymore. But that is what you get if you are a third country. There is a reason why there are many things that are not imported from countries even the EU has trade deals with. Even with a trade deal, you still have red tape. If it's only the member states don't have any red tape. because they have the same regulations, they have the same certificates, and so on and so on. So there are many things that are not imported because of that. And the same goes for cheese. And no, they will not say, see where you can get your food. That would be as childish as I see it from some people from the other side over and over again, especially in the comments of my videos. Oh, about comments of the videos, I just want to say I don't answer trolls, and they won't provoke me to answer to them either. Only, no matter from which side, if it's the leave side, the rejoin side, neutrals, if you make comments that make sense and that are not just pushing some populist lines or whatever, there I might answer to you and or I might comment, and of course I will definitely leave them there. But just provocative or just populist headline mess that has nothing to do with the video and stuff like this, or your favorite BS headline you're posting everywhere and trying to spam everywhere, I will delete them without a comment. I will delete every BS comment, and you can complain about this. I will also delete your complaint, but I want the people to have the chance to have a good discussion from both sides, and that's why I will continue doing this. Nodi Salsi, thank you for your super chat. And you have a question. Do you think a future UK government can change these arrangements into a more Swiss-Norwegian model and remove these stupid trade barriers? The Swiss-Norwegian model, first of all, Swiss and Norwegian models are quite different from each other. I must say, I don't think so. If you go for the Norwegian model, I know the people from Norway wanted it the way it is, and the Swiss also wanted the way it is, but not the very complex version. I'll talk about this a little bit later then. It's easier to be a member, because when you're a member, you have a say in all of this. The people in Norway decided that they didn't want this, but doesn't it make more sense for just when you think about this? You have to follow certain regulations. Don't you want to have influence on these regulations? And so especially in the case of the UK, if they will abide to regulations, they want to have a say. So if there's any future government that wants to get that close to the EU again, they will talk about rejoin. But I don't see that in the moment either. And the Swiss one won't happen a second time, because even what the Swiss have now, the EU does not want, because it's hundreds of single contracts. That's what Barnier was always talking about. We won't give the UK because we don't want this. And that's why they are negotiating with Switzerland for quite some time now to put all these hundreds of different agreements into one big agreement. That's why we had this referendum in Switzerland a few months ago about the freedom of movement, because that was one part they were discussing. And so the Swiss model is not an option for anyone. Nobody will get that again. And the Norwegian one wouldn't make real sense for UK government, because they would have to abide to a lot of rules they can't influence. For me personally, it doesn't make sense at all. Then I have Valerio Tarantino, the first one with a super chat today, even before I started, so thanks again for that one. I'd like to ask you if you think that after the Scottish elections in May, there's any chance that Scotland can have the permission from Westminster to rejoin at least the customs union and the single market to help all the local businesses. My answer has to do with what I said in the last question. It doesn't really make sense. First of all, if they have the elections, the Scottish government will go to get this referendum for independence. no matter the cost, I'm quite sure, and they will try every legal way to get this. And they will definitely not ask the government in Westminster for something else. And Scotland was talking about the solution for Northern Ireland with where we are now and with all the problems we are now, because the UK government can't cope with that. Why did the Northern Irish get this, although they voted? No, they voted. They didn't. But although the Scottish voted not to leave the EU, that's what I wanted to say. And they don't get the same that the Northern Irish do. The Northern Irish got this because of the special situation there, and of course many Scots would have liked to get the same and easy access to things from the EU and so on. But it wouldn't make any sense to ask Westminster for that permission. I'm sorry, Valerio. If they can get their referendum, and if the result of the referendum is, in the easiest way, a substantial majority for leave the UK, then they will apply for full membership in the EU. That has to do with another question I was asked frequently. Can they join the customs union single market and then apply for the membership in the EU? It doesn't make any sense, because it would take almost the same time than joining completely. So they should, in that case, apply for membership and go through the 35 chapters quite quickly, which they can as long as they are that close to the EU as they are now. And I don't see that many problems there. Where are we? Almost 200 people watching on my screen, at least. That's nice for a Sunday afternoon. Before I go to the questions, Conservator answered the questions earlier. Just to say this, because I'm a bit more relaxed now. My nice neighbors had a nice accident today, and they flooded all our basements. So I was waiting for the fire department to pump out the basement, and we just had some of my neighbors take out more waters. I had to get some stuff out already because one of my printers was there and all the ink was floating around, and I had to get this sorted. But I still wanted to do that live stream because before tomorrow I can't do anything proper anyway, because there's still some drying going on down there with machines. And no, I posted this today and some thought it was just a clickbait joke. No, it wasn't. My basement was completely flooded, and the next days half of the content will go to the trash. And I hope the rumor is not true, because one of my neighbors told me allegedly the neighbor responsible is not insured. That would be fun. But I'll tell you next week what happened with all of this and what I all had to throw out if you want to know. So the fun thing is, we had a major flooding in my city 6 years ago. And I survived this with a complete dry cellar. Nothing happened. And it was really bad here. We had damages in the city like hell. We had most rain in 300 years anywhere in Germany, in my city within a few hours. And a lot was flooded. And I didn't get anything. But the washing machine from my neighbors flooded the whole basement that high. And it's weird. As we call it, a century flood is not doing me any harm, but my neighbor's washing machine does. Yep. Okay, but let's get back to the topic. It's from Jean 1319. Hi Mark, in my opinion, Boris Johnson has no intention to implement the customs border between Northern Ireland and Britain. My question is, in your opinion, what the EU can do? There's not much they can do. They can do what Maroš Šefčovič, and that's someone wanted to make me really pronounce it that way, which is proper, but too many for me, insisted in his letter before the meeting this week. The UK signed an international agreement. And of course, the other side demands them to keep up that agreement. That's the first thing they can do. If they don't do it, in the end, then everything that comes into Northern Ireland has to be checked the one way or the other again, or then we will be talking about some bans, or there will be punitive tariffs in some cases. That is the thing for the legal experts in the European Union then, what punishment they all can put on them regarding the withdrawal agreement. And don't forget, there are a lot of things in the withdrawal agreement already that are in force for more than a year that can be put on hold as well if the UK doesn't fulfill their obligations from that treaty. And then I have Gentil. Hi Mark, I have a question. Germany has had the Solidaritätszuschlag, that's a special tax because of the reunification. Wouldn't it be appropriate for the EU to levy something similar for the corona crisis in Europe? What are your thoughts on this? After all of these years of paying it, I think it's still a great tool or instrument to support deprived areas. First of all, it was a tax that was brought up in a very special case because the reunification of a country is not something that happens very often. I mean, the people who will be closest in imagining what that means, of course, are the Irish and the Korean. But that was, first of all, an internal thing in our country and not an EU thing. And the EU cannot just put up tax. That's the first point on that one. They can't just put up a tax for every citizen in the EU. They don't have the power to do that. And there was a decision why that is so. On the other hand, it's not even necessary. Tomorrow on my European channel, you'll have the video. They now completed the restructure and resilience facility. It's done. It's there. Now the member states can all put up their reconstruction plans and hand them to the Commission, and the Commission will have a look on it, and the Council will have a look on it. And as soon as they're agreed to, they get their grants and loans. So that's what's going to happen, and that money is supposed to go to deprived areas. To, of course, a third of it, I think it was 37%, goes to has to go into green reforms and 20% into digital transitions, and the rest of the money is for areas that have more problems than others. Of course, the majority will not go to Germany or France or so, but to, funny as it is, to Hungary, Poland, Italy, of course. Italy was struck really hard. Portugal is now struck really hard. And so there the money, or the majority of the grants and loans will go. But that is the money that's there for this. So to tax the people of the EU would be so counterproductive. Right now, thanks to Brexit, and the people in the EU are very pro-EU. Oh, there's another thing with the Brexiteer comments. Not all Brexiteers, but I always mean the especially impolite hardcore ones. There's one opinion poll in Germany about the handling of the COVID situation by the EU. Most is done in the member states and especially in the federal states, and not by the EU. But that part that they were handling was polled there. And out of the poll result from one single topic, they now make that about 60% of the Germans are against the EU. No, they're not. If you still poll the Germans, if they're generally pro-EU and want to stay in the EU, you will have 80+% at least that are pro-EU and want to stay in the EU. But that's once again how the populists try to work. Oh, Karina, are you sick? Some trolls are there. Do I have to have a look? Usually Nightbot should take care of this already. And I've seen Conservator kicked something out. I've seen that once. I'll have a look later what that was. Thank you, by the way, for doing this. While watching, to have an eye on some things is really nice from you. Then I have a question from Christian Kruse. That was one of those where I asked you, even if it wasn't gold this time, to do it a little bit earlier next time. If the UK government scraps the withdrawal agreement and a hard border in Northern Ireland has to be built, who will staff it? Irish, Frontex or international forces? Because of the breach of the Good Friday Agreement. Let's start with it technically. Technically, both the UK from their side and the Irish from their side have to staff their borders and have to have checks and controls. If the UK single-sidedly decides to let everything into their country that comes in, fine, but technically Ireland is legally bound by EU law to protect the EU outer border they are responsible for. That's technically the point. But really, once again, the UK government scrapping the withdrawal agreement would make them absolutely a pariah. Everybody knows what US President Joe Biden will say about this, and breaking international law. They tried that once, they got their response, they stopped that. That is all saber rattling. There will be no hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland because the withdrawal agreement is scrapped. They will, in the end, fulfill their duties there. I just saw something. Will you consider questions that are EU focused, not Brexit related? Well, last week I had a lot of almost no questions on Brexit. That's why I asked this week to have some more Brexit questions, because there were many other questions, also EU and stuff like this. Yeah, of course you can ask EU questions. If it's not, I don't mean you personally, but if it's not just to get through some populist headlines, I won't answer those questions. And today I didn't pick some questions for today because it was from people that the rest of the week try to annoy me or spam some stuff, and of course I don't choose their questions anymore either. But another one from Christian: how long before the Ukraine can become an EU member? This is two questions in one, so I'll start with the first one. Until the whole thing with Russia is solved, I don't see the Ukraine joining the EU. Because of everything that has to come with membership in the EU, a lot has to be sorted out there. And that leads to the second question: what concessions will we, the EU, be willing to give Russia to help Ukraine? Lifting of sanctions or vote in Crimea? We in Germany call it Krim. Exactly, that's what's not going to happen. The sanctions are still not lifted because Russia is still in Crimea, and because of the illegal referendum in Crimea, and that was an illegal referendum. If you send your people there in masses before a referendum to get the vote you want, it is an illegal referendum. There's a good example. I don't know if you know Tom Clancy, the author. He's writing some of the best thrillers. He's not alive anymore, unfortunately. He died a few years ago, but I still love his books. And there's one of his books that is very prophetic regarding September 11th as well, when you read the end of it. But there was one part where there was a conflict between Japan and the USA, and the Japanese brought a lot of their people to one of the islands and then wanted to hold a referendum there for that island to join Japan. And that was just a fiction story, but that's exactly what happened in Crimea. And the EU cannot tolerate that. And so the sanctions will not be lifted. They will have to find a solution there, and the solution has to be with a lot of international help to get that thing sorted and to get the whole conflict there sorted. It's still not over. And that's one point anyway I want to talk about. Last week I was asked also which country will join the EU first, this or that country. And I can't stress it often enough what I said last week. The EU has to go through some reforms before new members should join. And that includes Scotland, by the way. Because we always say here they have to do their own homework first. It makes no sense, and we've seen this in the years when new members got in. The structure of the EU as it is now, the voting system internally in the EU as it is now, the authority of parliament as it is now, it does not fit to an EU of the size it has now. So before you can even have it bigger, you need reform. And that means the voting system with the unanimous votes has to go. They made some steps there, but not far enough. You have to talk about more things. Some serious stuff has to happen, which will happen with the help of the German presidency last year, with the Portuguese presidency now. The social pillar of the EU has to be strengthened. And that we will have in, I guess it's in May, there will be a social summit in the EU, because the social aspect is not a big authority aspect of the EU. And they have to work on the social aspect of the EU on the social summit. And they have to take the social consequences more in regard with many of the other decisions. And that's why it's a really good thing that they have this summit in May. And that might lead on some path of reforms that the EU really needs. And the same thing goes with the European army. I always say European army because it's not what people imagine. We have a lot of cooperation in military anyway. And you can just base this European army on that basis already. In my hometown here in Münster, we have the first German-Netherlands Corps. I was an intern there while I was in the university, by the way, in their press center. It was quite nice. And that is a really long time working cooperation between the Dutch military and the German military. And they have internationally worked with each other a lot. And there are other examples with the involvement of France, with the involvement of Denmark, of Poland, and other EU member countries, inside NATO, of course, but this still is a basis for more cooperation in Europe. And the most important aspect I always mention is really the purchase of weapons, planes, trucks, whatever. Everything gets cheaper if you all buy this together and you have the same standard. So if you're really forced to work together, you can, because your stuff is compatible. That was a big problem in the past, often enough. And so you can get this out there like this. Let's have a quick look here. What's going on in the chat? Oh, someone didn't behave. Nightbot is really strict today. Okay. But someone, and here you see there was a question about the EU. Someone was asking earlier if you could ask questions on the EU. Here was, and of course you also can ask questions regarding the EU, but the majority should be on Brexit because this is the Brexit channel and not my European channel. By the way, the European channel and the global channel, where I still do the series with basic information about every country of the world at the moment. That is just, we would call it bonus material for the viewers of my main channel. Because there you can get some additional information that has nothing to do with the UK or Brexit, and that might give you a bigger picture if you want this. I had this all on this channel in the first place when I started, but the people that are interested in the one thing are not necessarily interested in the other. And so I decided to separate those. And those want to have the additional information. And I really suggest you have a look, especially on the European one, if you want to learn something about the EU, besides some headlines about nothing's happening there and they never agree on anything. I'm following the Portuguese presidency as much as I did follow the German presidency, and they are working during their presidency all the time. Last week I talked about Horizon. They really got a big step ahead in Horizon. They got a big step further with the future of rail. They got a big step further now with the RRF, the Reconstruction and Reconciliation facility, where now the payments this year can go out to all the countries that are hurt most by COVID. And so there's a lot more happening that you might think. And my mouse has died. And I thought a rechargeable mouse would be nice. Well, let's take that one for a second. Just to remind you, if you want to ask questions during the chat, because I haven't said that today, you can easiest do this by using the super chat, because it's easier to see, and I see them on the phone I'm streaming from. There was the question or some comment on this. I'm streaming via my iPhone. I'm not that long on YouTube that I have all the fancy equipment some other people might have. That's why I can't show you the questions on the screen at the same time while I'm streaming, for example. That will happen in the future when I have a different camera. I started with a camera, but it was a older one, and the quality was much worse than the iPhone. And I'll get another microphone for that one and so on. But it's all step by step for the future. And as I said, now I first have to replace a lot of stuff from my basement. So that will take some time now. No, but then on the screen of my iPhone will get shown if I have a super chat, and then I know immediately I have to look for a question here. And that's why that is the easiest way in a live stream to do that. Not just because it's nice to have that. And there are a lot of other comments all the time running around. You see that yourself. To filter out questions there then, or to see which comment is a question while you're talking to the camera, is almost impossible. That's why everybody who's doing live streams is saying and answering questions is saying use the super chat, then the chance is high that your question can be seen. I just wanted to explain this one because I didn't that once. Hey Baba, my microphone isn't that bad. I know many other channels with much worse audio than mine. Well, Gridash, he asks what would be the consequence if the UK does not or refuse to improve the checks on the movement of goods between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. First of all, I answered that already, and the EU would not force would be forced to trigger Article 16 on some things. They would, in this case, scrap the whole thing. We are talking about something very different then. And Junie, yeah, thanks with the microphone. It's just the echo from hard wall. Yeah, I'm not finished yet, and I just want to do that a little bit more tomorrow. But now I'll be in the basement because what you see behind me is already making the audio better, because that is no hard wall anymore. Even if it, don't know what you think it looks like. Maybe you can write this what you think what it looks like, but it's not a hard wall anymore. So this side is done. The side behind the microphone is not done yet, but you will have to wait a little bit longer for me to do this, because now it's basement time because of my flooded basement that I have to take care of that one. But it will happen, and it's not about the microphone. These microphones are really good, I must say. I tested much more expensive lavalier microphones, and this one was really the best of them, although it was one of the cheapest. But I tested really expensive ones compared to this one, and they weren't any better. It's sometimes really fun. So, today, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to keep this a little bit shorter today, and some questions came in last. I wanted to do some more about Brexiteer myths, like I made some videos about this. I'm not going to do that today. Marble? Well, if it looks like marble, it's behind me. It's quite great, but I won't spoil your imagination there. But if that's how it looks, I'm quite satisfied with that. No, but I didn't want to extend the time today because I really have to deal with a lot now with the flooding here. Thanks to my neighbors. But I still wanted to do that chat, and I wanted to answer the questions because many made the work to ask the questions. And once again, if you want to ask questions for a live stream in the week before, Mondays or Tuesdays, there will be the post on the community test tab for the next live stream, and there you can leave your questions, or for those who are my Patreon, leave it on Patreon. There will be a post, or on Discord. There's a whole channel on my Discord just for the live streams. And for everyone, please, on the post for the questions for the live streams, don't answer to the comments of the others. I will delete them immediately, because those posts are only for leaving your questions, not for discussions. That is not a chat post. Yeah. I'm sorry for that, but I need to identify the questions, so I have to stop that immediately. And the same on my Discord. Who's on my Discord? There's a live stream channel, as I said. Leave your questions there, and I'll have them in the next live stream. And as I said, I'll try to do this regularly. Just one little thing, because I was asked last week again about the politics I'm doing. Yesterday, for example, I spent most of the day in our city hall, because this time quite late because of the elections in September, we are putting together our city budget. It's 1.5 billion euros for this year. And of course, my party group and we had to discuss our bills for that budget yesterday. And so I'm spending Saturdays as well on politics. Just because I said this, that's why I do live streams on Sundays, because that's usually the time where politics doesn't happen. So yesterday I was hours involved in bills on budget, and that's why I don't do those on Saturdays. Oh, Son of Viking, thank you for the super chat. And another question. Brexiteer myths, even Greek myths at least, had a point to them. Yes, well, I call them Brexiteer myths. You probably know the two videos I made some time ago about this. I call them that. Another time I called them Brexiteer urban legends. And I don't mean all Brexiteers. They are reasonable Brexiteers. They had their reasons for voting what they did, and they are sensible people, but there are on all sides idiots, and attacking me on my own channel usually are those idiot Brexiteers and not the idiot rejoiners. So they're both there, but I have more to deal with those. And that's why I know a lot of Brexiteer urban legends, and I will put some together for the next live stream next week. If you know some yourself, put them in the comments under the post on the community tab as well. I will think about them next week as well. Okay, for today I just want to say thank you for joining. We were more than 200 people again for a channel of my size. This is a wonderful number of viewers, so thank you all very much for following my channel, for following my live streams. I'm really happy to do this. I enjoy my live streams as well as doing the videos for you, and I'm looking forward to see you tonight at 9 p.m. on my next video, of course, which was filmed already, and I'm not doing any work on that one today anymore. But I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you on my next live stream next Sunday, 6 p.m. CET. I hope without big snow catastrophes or flooded basements. I just hope on a relaxed Sunday. And until then, of course, and until then, I just say enjoy, viel Spaß, bis bald und auf Wiedersehen.